What is up, Retro Maniacs? My name is Mike. His name is Joe. His name is EP, and we're here to talk about cards. We've been doing a little thing here where we've been passing the microphone around, letting different people run the show. This week, we're going to let that guy do it. EP, it's the EP show. EP, what are we talking about this week?
Well, a couple weeks ago, we did a show about words that people should stop using in the hobby, or the words that are overused in the hobby. And I think during that conversation, we defined what a grail card was. Like, we did a really good job of talking about this is a grail, this isn't a grail, like that sort of stuff. So I came up with some more words and or phrases that I want us to define, to be like we're putting this in the Bible. These descriptions are going to be what we know as these topics, these words.
Official.
So, the official
descriptions for these.
And when EP uses his pen to point, you know it's official.
Yes.
Like, I feel like I'm being.
And I have a notebook to write down our results. Like, this is being very scientific. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say these words, and I want both of you to remember. Like, we're going to just go one at a time, but we're going to do like a word association thing where as soon as I say the word, you need to say what popped into your head, and then we're going to go to the other person, say what popped into your head. Then we're gonna have a discussion about the what popped into your head and what the definition. And we're gonna hammer out the definition.
Okay.
All right.
Let's get to it.
Okay. So I feel like this first one is going to I think we're gonna get different answers from both you guys. So I'm gonna start with Mike because I feel like Mike's gracious. He throws at us at the very beginning of every podcast and says, you know what, you guys go first. Tell us what's going on. So I'm gonna throw it to him first. So I'm going to say, again, these phrases, these words. This is like the longest one. And we're going to figure out what it is. So, Mike, when I say these words, what pops in your head? High-end, mid-end, and low-end cards. So what's a high-end card, a mid-end card, and a low-end card?
I would say a high-end card, anything over 5K.
Okay.
Mid-end, 500 to 5K.
Okay.
Low end, anything under 5.
Okay. Mr. Joe.
So I agree with those, but I think, and can I throw out suggestions?
I mean, what was your initial reaction? Was you agree?
My initial reaction was very similar to Mike's.
Okay.
But
wait. Very similar, but what was your difference?
Maybe like 4K. Like, we're talking, when we're talking 5K,
okay.
4K, just
right.
Multiple thousands of dollars. I think there should be, in this day and age, a super high end, because like, I think a lot of people would define high end, and that's what we're here for. A lot of people would define high end to them differently along than they would have 20 years ago. Right. I think there's a super high end now. There's just so many cards that are worth multiple, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, that I think that needs to be its whole separate category.
I've heard people talk about and call like a $500 card, which Mike said, that's the start of the mid end, or even $1,000 as like low end cards. So I hear a lot of people on a lot of podcasts talking about these things, and they're, it's got to be $10,000 for it to be a high end card. Like, so I just wondered what you guys thought, like kind of talking about what we thought, and mine fits right in with the numbers that the three of us are talking about. So I feel like we've figured this one out. And I agree that super high end there should be a fourth tier.
Anything like
50K.
I was going to say 10.
Anything above 5K, right?
Okay.
Like,
yeah, I was going to say 10 and above, but yeah, I mean 5K. I mean,
okay. I'd be okay with that.
Okay. All right, next one. Vintage card.
Joe's up, right?
Joe. Yep, Joe's first. What's popped in your head? Just what is it? When I said vintage card, what popped in your head?
Popped in my head was 1970s. So anything before 1970s.
Okay. Mike?
1980 and earlier.
Okay. In the vintage, in the collectibles market, like vintage is 30 years old. So technically,
right.
So I mean that's but
the stuff we were collecting is now vintage back in the 90s, right?
Right. It's a little bit different in cards, but I mean I hear a lot of people I've seen people call like 1990s stuff vintage. And so I was just wondering what
On
you guys
eBay
thought
listings,
of
I
it.
see that a
Oh
lot.
yeah, right.
A
I think
lot.
when you got into collecting really falls
Is-
into your determining of that too, because if I had a card shop in the 90s, so 80s cards obviously weren't vintage in the 90s, so yeah, but I understand that reasoning, but I still feel pretty confident anything pre-80. I feel like there needs to be a different cat vintage, modern, and ultra modern is how I like to look
I was
at
just
it.
gonna say, Mike, like it reminds me of like comic books. Like there's the golden age, the silver age, the bronze age. Those things stay that way. So for
Mhm.
me, vintage will always be the stuff that's pre-80. And I would consider like 30 years from now, I think the era from like 1990 to 2010-ish will always be called modern.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the only one that
It-
I could see changing is ultra modern, or maybe there's another name for that. But like to me, it's almost like we need to just set that time period and call it something. And if it's vintage, fine, it's vintage because it's like the pre-war thing, right? Like pre-war is always going to be that's a set time,
Yeah.
and that's why we call it that. I think vintage, regardless of what the books say is considered technically vintage or antique or whatever, that set period of time will always be vintage, if that
yeah,
makes sense.
I agree.
cards are more of like a historical ages, like the Bronze Age,
Yeah,
that
Touchstones,
sort of stuff.
different
exactly.
touchstones.
As opposed to actual like the following the what is vintage.
Yeah.
Okay, next one, Mike, you're up. Influencer. What popped into your head when I said the word influencer?
Jeff Wilson.
All right. I mean, accurate.
It did.
Yeah.
Joe.
Mine was Mike Lutz.
Okay.
But
All right.
now,
Yeah. I didn't
That's the
want to
correct.
say
That's the
myself.
correct. That's the correct
The
answer.
correct
Mike's
answer.
Mike's trading
Correct
cards. Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
no, I same thing as mine. I mean, Jeff Wilson would be the first name to pop in my head because like the other people that we talk about, I don't consider them quote unquote influencers. Like we talk about Dustin a lot. We talk about Nolan at Alico 3 a lot. Like I don't feel those people are influencers. They're just information and opinion providers. They're not trying to push you to something where Jeff Wilson is pushing you to something.
Yeah. I feel like Jeff Wilson is trying to influence you. Like anybody on YouTube, if somebody watches them and like agrees with their opinion, could technically be considered an influencer. But like there's a difference between the people who are trying to and the people that aren't trying to. So that's why he popped into my head.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
think
good one.
I think that's also why he's held at such a such a higher standard by so many people, because he has this super large
He has
voice
a
in the
large
hobby, right?
platform.
Yeah. I mean, so like I think that's why there's a lot of people. There are a lot of people. I listened to one podcast where he said that there are just people taking shots at him all the time. He doesn't address it during his videos or whatever, but he sees all of it. And
Well, that's not true. Sometimes he does.
well, I mean, I guess he tries not to, but yeah. So I mean, but the thing is, like, if you're going to be that person and you're going to be out there, like, you got to be ready for the criticism.
With great
right?
power comes great responsibility.
Right.
I've heard
I
that
thought-
somewhere before.
When you said the great power and then you use the Spider-Man line, it made me think of the great curator. Also, someone who is very much trying to be an influencer and push people to a certain point of view or perspective on a very specific cards at the time, those PMGs. But like the thing with Jeff Wilson is when people first came into the hobby or first come into the hobby, he's someone that I watched one of his videos recently, one of his newer videos, and there are still a ton of people commenting about this is such great comment. You do such a great content. You do such a great job for the hobby. You know, we really appreciate the knowledge and the education. So there are still not everyone sports card radio. Not everyone watches content like that. So, you know, yeah, he's definitely still influencing people to this
And
day.
unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are naive to the hobby that have gotten into it that look to him because he's the most prominent and think that he's knowledgeable when really, I mean, he's not. Like he has not been part of this hobby that long. There are many other people that have been doing this nonstop for a long time. And I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about, the Elite Co 3s, sports card radios. A lot of people have been involved with this business for a long time in the hobby here, and they have a lot of knowledge. And it's a shame that because that guy has slick videos and he has the most subscribers, YouTube is showing all the new people his content, and they just kind of assume he knows what he's talking about.
One last point too about a recent video, Mike, you made the point about him being knowledgeable but us not believing he is, people just assume he is. I see him get taken at card shows all the time. Like I'll watch videos of him and I'm like, you paid what for what? Like not old videos either. Like I see like kids, not kids, but like Roth cards came up and sold him a card. And I'm like, you got him to pay that for that? Wow. You're the smarter one at that table. I see that a lot in a lot of his videos.
There's pictures of like a 5-year-old walking up and taking it. That's when you first said that the kid was like, oh gosh.
Well, we're so old, EP. Someone in their mid-20s are kids to us. Come on.
That's true. That is true. That is true.
We're vintage. We're vintage.
We are definitely vintage. We're beyond vintage. Yeah.
We might be pre-war.
Pre-war.
Okay, number 4. I think we're back to Mike, right?
No, Joe.
No, Joe. When I say this word, what pops into your head?
Oh, the 10 point.
Iconic card.
52 Mantle.
Okay. Mike?
89 Upper Deck Griffey.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this one's a pretty easy one, I think. I mean, when people think of like, I mean, the thing is, though, a lot of people throw out like
86 Jordan.
Right.
Yeah, we could come up with a list of like 10 just iconic cards. Baseball card collector, investor, dealer. Speaking of someone who has been doing content for a long time,
that knows what he's talking about
and knows what he's talking about. He's done videos like this in the past where he just picks out some of the most iconic cards. I think what EP's kind of why you might have brought this up, EP, is it feels like everyone sees any card that they kind of like, that kind of looks cool, iconic. This card is iconic. It was from last year, and it was a Darth Maul autograph. Iconic. No.
That gold kaboom.
That gold
iconic.
Kaboom. Iconic.
No. The Rock 101.
The Rock 101. Iconic.
Yeah.
I don't even know if a one of one can be iconic. I mean, maybe like the logo man that got shown in New York City because of everything around it. But that's the kind of level of a car. Like people need to be talking about it again for like decades.
And I don't think
about it, right?
To that point, I don't think people are going to be talking about that logo man decades from now. I really don't.
It's very, very, very possible. Yeah.
Right. There are better ultra modern cards. I think
they'll be talking about his Topps Chrome refractor. I guarantee.
Right.
But they won't be
or
talking
his
about the logo.
Was Upper Deck Exquisite RPA. They'll be talking about those cards as iconic LeBron cards. I don't think that logo man will ever be considered that. But I think a lot of people just want to use that word as a buzzword to sell cards or pump cards.
No.
I know, right? Shocking. Right.
Will LeBron have an iconic card? The cards that we've gone over all have some sort of story with them, right? The 52 Mantle, the 89 Upper Deck Griffey, the 86 Jordan. Can LeBron have an iconic card?
I don't think so.
Not to that level.
Yeah, because he has so many rookie cards. Even someone like Brady, who I love, who was a 6th round pick, he still had a lot of rookie cards. Like when we're talking 52, 52 Mantle is not a rookie. It's not a rookie. We get it. But, he had one card in that set, his first Topps card. That was his first Topps card. Jordan's, you could call it a rookie, maybe not. I don't know. But it's 86 Fleer. He had one card in that set. People who have over 50 cards, 50 rookie cards, I can't pick one out to be quote unquote iconic because there could be an argument. Mike, you could think it's the gold refractor from Topps Chrome. I could think it's Upper Deck Exquisite or SP Authentic or whatever. There's too much of a debate to be had.
Like and Brady, who's considered to be the greatest football player of all time, like he doesn't really have an iconic card, right? Like
people bring up the Bowman Chrome, and that's not even anywhere near his most expensive card.
Right. I mean, the Contenders is. I mean, that's the Contenders. Look at that, but I mean, the Contenders autograph. But right. I mean, like so I feel like there are some people who might not ever have an iconic card. So I mean, this is a little bit of a stop.
It'll be a lot harder for newer players because of the quantity of cards they have.
Oh, that Joe Burrow die cut snakeskin numbered 2.
Well, that will
sticker auto. I mean, whew.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, last one, Mike.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm going to say a word. Well, I'm going to start with a sentence, then a word, and so you're ripping a pack and you get a hit. What's that? What does that look like? What is it? What's a hit?
What is a hit?
When you're
definitely an autograph. Definitely an autograph, or like a numbered card, a colored numbered card.
Okay.
So
Joe?
numbered card or auto.
For me, it'd have to be either a like megastar player auto or a rookie auto. Like I've been seeing so much optic being opened. Holy crap, guys! The autos in that I wouldn't consider a Bobby Abear auto a hit. It's sad.
I mean,
as
it's a
sad as
hit,
that.
just
It's a
not
hit, but
good
I
one.
don't think of right. I don't think of
Yeah.
it as a hit.
There are
And
levels.
there are very, very. That's a good point. There are levels to this, and then a low numbered card like something, 50 and below. I would consider an actual hit to get excited about. Is that what you're asking, or is it
I
just a
I
hit in
wanna-
general?
Just a hit in general.
Just a hit.
Just a hit in general? It could be
Yeah.
a fake mem card. Technically, is a hit, right? I mean, if
We're from an era when you open up a pack and you got an insert, that was a hit. Like it was a big
Mhm.
deal when you got an
oh
insert,
yeah,
right? So
Not anymore.
so
Not
yeah, so
anymore.
has that changed for you guys? Is that
Yeah.
because of how the hobby has changed? And
Mhm.
Mike, you saying about a numbered card, I was going to ask, is a parallel a hit? I mean, do you consider anything that's different from the base card? I mean, technically, I think everything different from a base card is.
And you're saying if we're
an
opening up ultra
insert
modern.
of some kind, insert of
Yeah.
some kind.
I
So
mean,
is a parallel a hit?
technically, I think so. Like,
Okay.
like the Panini doing like a cracked dice or something like that. I would consider it a hit. It's a parallel. It's not numbered, but yeah, it's still a hit. I just like the insert cards. You get so many, and you get them in every pack that I don't think they're hits anymore. Like
Right.
the base inserts are kind of the same as the base set anymore. So
Mhm.
I would consider parallels to fall under that.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed was some of the stuff I've been doing recently is like they always had like the subsets in like 1991 score. They had all these different subsets, rifleman, all those are just now instead of being subsets, they are inserts.
Yeah,
But
Well,
I mean,
that's
you get
how
them
Diamond King started, right?
one and two packs. Well, Diamond King
Diamond
started
King
as
start that
yeah
way?
part of the main set.
base set, right?
Yeah. So I mean, like now that said, I am a little bit different from you guys in that I still get excited when I see one of those. Yeah, you get one every two packs kinds of cards. If it looks cool and it's a cool player, I still get excited about it. So
EP like shiny things.
I do. I like them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to what you're opening up to. Like, if you're strictly talking ultra modern, yeah, I mean, stuff's technically hits, but really, I mean, it's not worth anything. Like, to me, a hit has to have some sort of, other than just the straight up collectability, but to be like a hit where you're like excited about it, literally shaking about it, it has to have some sort of value outside of just
Not
your
for me.
PC value.
Not for
Some
me.
inserts
I gotta
qualify too. Like
right.
a Kaboom is a hit, even though it's not
Right.
numbered. Like the harder to pull inserts, I think would probably qualify too.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, that was the only one that I think we really kind of disagreed upon. And so, I mean, we definitely want the viewers to leave their opinions on all these 5 topics in the comments below. But we're gonna for right now until we hear from them and they give us their reasons, their evidence against what we have. We've decided that high end, low end, and mid end cards. So it's high end is 5K to 4K to 5K plus. Low end is less than $5. Mid end is like 500 to 5K. And then we're also going to say there should be a super high end for anything above that 5K range. Vintage is anything pre-1980, so 1970s-ish was what Joe said. Influencers are Jeff Wilson and Mike Lutz. So when you think of influencer, like the textbook definition, just put that in there. Jeff Wilson and Mike Lutz.
Either or.
Iconic cards are the 52 Mandel, 89 Upper Deck Griffey, 86 Jordan, those kinds of cards. Anything else is not iconic.
Nothing else. Yeah.
Yep. And a hit, according to you guys, is an auto numbered card, something of significant value.
Yeah. Don't argue. We're right.
Yeah, I think
an auto of a megastar, depending on who you're talking to. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bobby Abear is not a hit. I'm sorry. I mean, technically, sure.
I mean, it's just not a good one.
When they're selling that product, they're considering it a hit. Like there's your hit. That's your auto.
Bobby
that kind of money.
No offense to Bobby
No way.
Abear.
Right? Yeah, definitely not. But
no.
Oof.
All right. It has been decided. There we go. Nobody argue. But let us know in the comments how wrong we are.
Right.
Yep.
All right, guys. That was a fun one. We'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
See you, boys.
See ya.